NBA season previews. I'm Matt Sampson. James Hetherington, fresh off the plane from the States.
I'm back.
We're going to talk some Sacramento Kings in a little bit, James. But quickly, we've got to say thanks to Sporties at the Arca Bar for letting us shoot here. Another day of disrupting everything they're trying to do in the morning, and they've been nice enough to let us sit on the couch and talk about basketball.
Yeah, they have been great the whole time.
Yeah, so check it out. Link in the description below. Sacramento Kings, number 25 in my rankings. Probably about right, isn't it?
I'd say so, yeah. Somewhere in the mid-20s.
Yeah,
definitely.
low 20s.
Yeah. Low 20s? High 20s?
Well, 25, I suppose that's...
So low 20s is, yeah.
They're not very good at basketball is the point that I'm trying to make, is the Sacramento Kings. You know, looking at what they did last year, 28 and 54, which, you know, in the West, we know it's a tougher conference, but also at the same time, 24th overall in the league, 13th in the West. Not great, was it?
No, it just wasn't. The Sacramento Kings, I don't know. The team's not there. The owners didn't care. Like, the new owners are better. The new owner, he's the son of Sacramento, isn't he?
Vivek, yeah, he's. I want to touch on him in a little bit in the way that he's gone about. He's got typical new owner syndrome, in that you buy a new franchise that's struggling and he wants to make it good now. So he's jumped on every possible trade that he could possibly get his hands on to try and build a good team. But as we see, that happens a lot with new owners. The first trade you can get your hands on probably isn't always the best one.
Yeah, well, I think we'll touch on him in a little bit. Excuse me. But yeah, the Sacramento Kings all season, you know, they're in the Western Conference, but they still finished 24th overall, as you said. And like, I'm going to say, they sucked. Yeah. They sucked.
They weren't a very good basketball team. I mean, you look at their offense is 17th, their defense was 24th. You know, sometimes with bad teams, you can excuse them for being bad because of their defense, because they play really fast tempo and they at least put buckets on the board. Sacramento didn't even really do that. They had some studs on the roster and couldn't really do much with it. I mean, the strength I've got there, which, you know, I think a lot of people have gathered by now, my favourite thing in basketball is gunners. And they had lots of gunners.
Been made pretty clear.
But the other thing that I've touched on with gunners is that gunners don't usually win basketball games, so that they had lots of gunners was probably their weakness as well. So, you know, there's lots of people that want to shoot a lot of balls, but not a lot of people that want to play a lot of defense, you know. Sacramento, I think they're entertaining. They've got some characters on the roster for sure, don't they? But, you know, they're
DeMarcus Cousins definitely comes to mind.
Definitely not a playoff team at the moment, you know. Even looking at what they've done in the off-season, that big move to bring in Darren Collison. They let Isaiah Thomas go, which I really don't mind as a Suns fan. I'm pretty happy to have Izzy on the team.
I cannot believe that happened.
But Darren Collison is the future of the Sacramento Kings. Yes or no?
No. Hard no. Absolutely no. Darren Collison's okay. He's a relief guard and he does well. He did okay for the Clippers, but he shouldn't be starting for a team. And the fact they let Isaiah Thomas go to get him, what were you thinking, Sacramento? That could not have been a worse move.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at all these other names they've brought in as well, and no one really moves the needle for me. I mean, they've got some interesting things in there, like Simbula, who's the first Indian player in the league, but that's as far as the interest goes for me. I mean, they lost Isaiah Thomas, Mr. Irrelevant, the 60th overall pick, who's shown that he's a super talented player, 20-plus point scorer, you know, decent ball distributor, and they brought in, like you said, a backup point guard to replace him as the starting guard. I mean, we've seen flashes of Darren Collison being a really talented guard. When Chris Paul went down way back in New Orleans, he stepped in and was a stud for the rest of the year. But since then, you know, he's bounced around the league a little bit. Pacers, Mavs, Clippers, all of those not really showing that he can be that lead guard, has he?
Absolutely, and I don't want to knock Collison here, because I think he's an okay player. He's an adequate player, but replacing Isaiah Thomas for the Kings, he is going to get roasted in Sacramento, and everyone's going to give him a go, saying this is our starting guard now. What are we doing? We want Thomas back, and I honestly feel sorry for him, because this is a lot of pressure to put on a player who I'm going to say is good, but he's not great. He's not Isaiah Thomas.
I think the worst thing that I like about this move is not the player himself, because I'm with you. I think Darren Collison is a great switch-it-up player. You know, he'll come in, he'll switch up the pace of the game. He's really good going at second units. He brings a different aspect to your offense than maybe your starting guard will. But as a lead guard, running the majority of the minutes, the majority of the offense, he's probably not the guy you really want. And like you said, Isaiah Thomas was really good last season. Do you think, though, I've touched on it, too many gunners on the roster? Isaiah Thomas, as we know, is a gunner who likes to score. Do you think they brought in Collison to try and be more of a passive point guard?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. They probably want a bit more ball distribution instead of just shooting from wherever. But if you were trying to get rid of gunners, don't get rid of Isaiah Thomas. You know, he was a star for the Kings last season, and I don't know why this move happened. And sure, it makes logical sense, and they probably had to trade someone big to get Collison from the Clippers in the first place because, as we've said, he is good. But if they brought him in to help Isaiah Thomas instead of replace him, that's a dynamite move. Congrats to the Kings, but they didn't do that. They replaced their, I'm going to say, number one gunner with Collison. They shouldn't have done it.
I think my suspicion is that Vivek Ranadive, I'm sorry if I've said that wrong, but the new owner of Vivek has Rajon Rondo in his sights. I think there was banter about that last season. I think he's got his heart set on bringing Rondo to Sacramento, and he's just got Collison as the backup for now. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Rondo wants to come to Sacramento.
I reckon if that did happen, we would all have to sit down and say, "Well done, Kings. That was a baller move. Getting Rondo to come to the Kings, great." But I can't see it happening.
Yeah, until he leaves in free agency at the end of the year, I think.
Yeah,
that's what I don't think.
I can't see the pull of Sacramento. I think he'd be going there just to play with DeMarcus Cousins, and even that is not appealing. You know.
Yeah, so I don't really know, what's going on with Darren Collison here. You know, he lost Isaiah Thomas, but then sort of with the ins, the outs don't really move the needle too much, do they? I mean, Jason Terry used to be good at basketball, but he's sort of shown he's coming off a little bit. He's been hurt, so it's hard to judge him. But Nick Stauskas, number 8th overall pick, pretty much a clone of Ben McLemore from the draft last year. But do you have any sort of expectations for him coming in?
Not really. I've been following pretty hard on the Darren Collison move. With Nick, I think, it's hard to say. There were other picks there they could have taken, but it's not eye-grabbing like maybe Andrew Wiggins was, but I think he can bring something to the table.
Yeah, I still think they should have drafted Noah Vonleh and brought in a power forward that could stretch the floor around Boogie. But, Stauskas, I think McLemore was on the trade block a couple of times last season, so if they're... I think a lot of people are saying it's dumb that they brought in 2 players so young that play the same position, but, run them out there, give them a trial, and you can always shoot off the one that you don't really want because, they're still young, still a lot of potential. So Stauskas, he's a knockdown shooter. He showed he can dribble the ball a little bit as well, so if he can penetrate and knock down threes, he might outs McLemore. But, yeah, I think this is such a Sacramento move, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Maybe the new owner, what was his name again? It was
Vivek. I'm not going to say Vivek. I'm not going to embarrass myself for the last
maybe Vivek has this whole grand master scheme plan, and we're just making complete fools of ourselves right now. But I can't see it happening at the Sacramento Kings, and for me, they've regressed.
Yeah, well, literally on these rankings, they have regressed to 25th from 24. So. Yeah, I think you might be onto something there. Looking at the guys that are going to play the bulk of the minutes for the Kings this year, there's obviously Darren Collison, who we've ripped a new one already.
Yep.
Boogie, my man, DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, who's just a superstar. Rudy Gay, underrated, I think, in Sacramento. He really turned it around. We'll touch on him in a bit. Jason Thompson, Ben McLemore. Who are you looking at to really give the Kings something next season?
For me, it's DeMarcus Cousins. You said it. He is a superstar, and I want to make that very clear. He is a superstar. He's not good. He's not great. Superstar. For me, it's his team, and everyone in Sacramento knows that he's their. I don't want to say child like LeBron in Cleveland, but he's definitely the man there, and I think he has so much to bring. He's a powerful center. He can put in buckets. He can get rebounds. He can D up. I think for him, if they built around him, Sacramento could come good eventually. But forget about everyone else. Forget about absolutely everyone else. DeMarcus Cousins, that's the Sacramento Kings. Yeah,
well, you look at what Boogie did last year. He was 9th in the league in scoring, 22 points a game, 11.7 rebounds, which is 5th. He's also 5th amongst centres in assists with 2.9. So, like you said, he's got that real versatile offensive game. Was also 5th in player efficiency rating, with a rating better than Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, and Dirk Nowitzki, who we know the shooters are really high up on the rankings in player rating because, efficiency, jump shooting, great shooters. He is a superstar. He is going to make the All-Star game this year, which I think is one of the easiest predictions I'm going to make.
I'd agree.
He's jumped over Josh Smith as my, most talented guy to not be on the All-Star game yet. Like you said, they need to build around him, and they need to show to him that there's a direction that this franchise is going to make. They locked him down to a contract extension, so he's not going to be leaving for a while through free agency, but he is somewhat of a head case.
He does have a few...
Bit of a temper.
He likes to muck around, we'll just say that. But, the better you are, the more leeway you get with that kind of stuff. And he's got a lot of leeway.
Bit of a temper, bit of a short fuse. If he doesn't like the way that the team's going, he could try and force his way out to another team. So Sacramento really need to keep DeMarcus happy to keep him in Sacramento. I think with that big contract, they're going to get, knowing Sacramento, they'll probably botch it, but they could get a pretty good deal if, say, DeMarcus Cousins wanted to leave tomorrow. But I think, if, as you said, if they keep him happy, if they keep the superstar happy, they'll do okay. Yeah, I think he's obviously the strength in this, the majority of the minutes 5 I've got here, but the weakness for mine, excuse me, is Jason Thompson at the 4. I really wish that they'd brought in Noah Vonleh. That would have been great. Or if they'd got a better draft pick, they could have brought in Aaron Gordon. Oh, that would have been amazing for them to have that defensive anchor at the 4 spot. And the 2-guard position with Ben McLemore and Nick Stauskas is a bit up in the air at the moment because we don't know who's going to play the most minutes. And McLemore was a bit iffy last year. That's why I've got them so far down the rankings. They have the superstars, but they also have some obvious holes.
Absolutely, I agree with you completely. Jason Thompson in particular, for me, he's not good. I don't hate him like I hate Jody Meeks, but
we're on the Jody Meeks fan.
Jody Meeks bashing him every chance I get.
Poor Jody.
Yeah, Jason Thompson. I think he's the huge hole that DeMarcus Cousins have to fill, and then they're flat. The Sacramento Kings. They don't have the bounce of DeMarcus. They're just flat, and I think that's a huge issue they need to address pretty soon if they want to jump from 25th in the league ratings. Yeah,
speaking of a guy that has some serious bounce though, for me the key to the Kings this season is not DeMarcus Cousins, because we know what DeMarcus can do and we know he's a beast. For me, it's all about Rudy Gay this year in Sacramento. This is the trade I'm talking about that they made. The new owner, they want to make a splash. They want to be like, look at me, I'm the new owner, I'm taking over the team, we're going to the top, we're not bad anymore. I'm going to bring in a quote-unquote big name. He brought in Rudy Gay, who is super talented. I really like Rudy Gay a lot.
I do as well, actually, and I think in terms of Sacramento, I think that's a big name, and I think he definitely fulfilled on his promise, but whether Salmons and who else was it that moved?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
They traded 2 pretty big pieces, in my opinion, to get him. Big name in, couple big names out, though. I don't know. What do you think?
I think if Rudy Gay can play like Sacramento Rudy Gay that we saw last season, he was an efficient scorer. He wasn't.
Do you mean Toronto Rudy Gay?
No, if he can play like Sacramento Rudy Gay.
Okay.
In Toronto, he was doing what Rudy Gay used to do. He was jacking contested 2s. He was dribbling out the shot clock for 17 seconds before initiating the offense. He was,
most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah, he was being earlier career Rudy Gay, which he was the whipping boy of the advanced stats community, because he doesn't play like advanced stats people want him to play. But Rudy Gay is a baller. He puts points on the boards. He's a decent rebounder. He can pass a little bit as well. And once he came to Sacramento, he was scoring with efficiency. He was deferring to DeMarcus Cousins when he needed to, and he was a great complementary scorer. If he can do that, that's a real win for Sacramento, and they might have actually won this trade.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from, but do me a favour and do everyone at home a favour. Drop some stats on us from Rudy Gay. Let's hear him.
20 points a game, 5.5 rebounds. Most important statistical number for me, $19.3 million this year, which is staggeringly high.
It's a big number for Rudy Gay.
But I think most importantly for me, contract year, Team USA squad. Those are 2 things that I hold in really high regard in terms of having a great season the year after, or the year of that, I should say. Contract year, everyone knows you get paid for how well you play. So if you know there's money on the line, put in extra effort. We've seen it with guys like Trevor Ariza. He balls out, gets money, and then disappears for the rest of his contract, then reappears in the contract year. Team USA squad, I've touched on several times in that Team USA is just like a personal upgrade. You go in as Rudy Gay Mark 1, come out as Rudy Gay Mark 2. You're playing against the best teams in the world. Probably Rudiger mark 1.5 this year because there's no KD, there's no LeBron. You're not playing against the best of the best, but
it's definitely
in that environment,
gives you a kick up.
He's going to be a better player for it. So for me, I'm looking for a good year from Rudy Gay. I love Rudy Gay. I'm in the support Rudy Gay community. Rudy Gay for mine is almost more important than DeMarcus Cousins because he could bring so much more to this team that we haven't seen that we already know DeMarcus brings, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. I can definitely see where you're coming from.
But, believe the hypothetical. We're jumping onto this one. This is one that I know you had to put a bit of thought to, but it's a bit cryptic, but when you think about it, it's quite philosophical. It makes a lot of sense. Believe the Hype is a really great podcast that I really enjoy. If you love basketball, you're going to love it. A couple guys from the East Coast that are really smashing it. Check out all the info on the screen. This one though, James, their prediction is, or their statement rather, is Alonzo G is not the hero Sacramento needs, but he is the hero they deserve.
I do love a good Batman reference.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy that. And it is a big... I'm enjoying the digs they give out. I'm definitely enjoying them. This is a big dig at Sacramento about some of the moves they've made in the past. And honestly, I can't fault them. They've made some stupid moves. And I agree with this completely.
Yeah, I think, he's not the hero that the fans in Sacramento deserve. They've been one of the most mistreated fan bases, not knowing where the team was headed or if it was even.
If you are a Kings fan and you've stuck with them, you are a true fan.
More power to you. But yeah, Sacramento had just a history of making boneheaded trades, bringing in boneheaded players, playing a boneheaded style of basketball, and just all around boneheadedness, I suppose, is where I'm heading with that one. Sacramento does not deserve a superstar right now with the way that they've gone about things, and Alonzo G is not a superstar, is he?
No, he's not, and they've summed it up pretty well here, and you've summed it up well then, Matt.
Boneheadedness.
Boneheadedness. Let's plaster that word everywhere. That's this trade.
Yeah, no, I feel for the Kings fans, but for the team itself, with the way that they've sort of capitulated after that really, really great team they had in the mid-2000s, I think, the way they're going, Alonzo G is the man to take them to the promised land.
One thing I want to actually make note of is, isn't it funny with the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers rivalry? They're both horrible now, so the rivalry is as strong as ever.
Yeah, now it's who's going to get the number one pick.
Exactly. They're fighting tooth and nail for that.
Which I hope Sacramento wins, because as a Suns fan, we own your pick this year. So top 5 protected. We'll take pick 6, thanks. But we've got to wrap it up there. Sacramento Kings, 30 seconds on the clock, James. What's your prediction for the Kings this season?
Sacramento Kings will go backwards this season. Isaiah Thomas, I cannot believe they got rid of him.
Yeah,
DeMarcus Cousins, he's a superstar, but I don't think he can do as much as the fans will expect and demand of him. There'll be high points. They might grab a few big scalps, especially if Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins combine for a huge game. That's exactly what the Kings need, but I can't see it happening on a regular basis. For me, they will struggle big time in the strong Western Conference, and I'm going to go 13th, 14th, 15th, anywhere around there. They're not going to be flash.
Yep, the Kings are not going to make the playoffs this year. That's, I think,
without a doubt, that's hands down.
Pretty safe prediction for me. I think they're way too top heavy with DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay. They're stars. I'm really keen to see Rudy play this season. I really enjoy watching him play and proving the doubters wrong. I love a good underdog. The Kings,
who doesn't?
The Kings are going to keep building through the draft, and hopefully they can get it right this time around. I mean, I could be wrong. Nick Stauskas could be the Rookie of the Year, come out of nowhere. He's a really fun guy to watch, I think. If you saw his handshakes he was throwing out at the draft night, he just seems like a ball of energy, that kid.
Right.
But the Kings, not going to make the playoffs. Not going to do a whole lot. You got to keep building. And I think the thing that Sacramento needs to understand is that sometimes you have to be bad to be good, and to be really bad, instead of trying to not be bad but then ending up to be bad, if that makes sense.
Can I just end on one more thing as well? If you get rid of Isaiah Thomas to bring in Darren Collison, what was that word again, Matt? Boneheadedness.
Boneheadedness.
Plus that on this YouTube video, boneheadedness.
Boneheadedness. Sacramento Kings are boneheads.
Let's do that.
We'll see you next time.